Hey guys, welcome to the show. We got a great show coming from you from the Zoom Reza Rift Studios, or as Ty Rivera says, Unbothered Studios from Las Vegas. I don't know what he says, but
holy shit!
We got a great show. I'm Keith Reza with my Nightwing to my Batman, Victor Pachecho, right?
Yeah, you can check that
I'm on a roll for saying it right.
Yeah, man, it's great. It's like my IMDb is gonna get refined one day.
Yeah, they emailed me here. Okay, before we go into who our guest is, we gotta talk about this. So Victor was like, Keith, my name's Pacheco, not Pacheco, or whatever. And I was like,
oh, you wrote a Pachecho.
Yeah. And I was like, okay, I will write IMDb help support, right? And Victor's like, thanks, I appreciate that. So I wrote them, right? 4 weeks later, I get an email. Hey, is this the guy from Dirty Jokes or whatever?
No, from Unhealthy Comedians.
Unhealthy Comedians. And I was like, I don't know. Let me ask him. So I asked him. I was like, Victor, were you in Unhealthy Comedians? And then he said no. I was like, that's that. Wrong Victor sent. Then, half an hour later, Victor calls me and says, hey, by the way, I actually was in Unhealthy Comedians and I didn't know about it. I was like, I just told them you weren't. So what the heck? So then I sent him an email. I was like, hey, I said no, but he actually just realized he was in it. That's the right Victor. They haven't responded. It might take 4 weeks, but in my defense, that was Victor's fuck up. Victor, what's your side of the story?
Okay, my side of the story is, listen, when you said, hey, are you an Unhealthy Comedian? I'm like, how the fuck did Keith see that? And is he making a fat joke? Because the star of the, okay, first of all, there's a movie called Unhealthy Comedian, or a documentary. So, I thought you were making a joke. Is it about you because you're an unhealthy comedian? Waka waka waka. I thought that's what you were doing,
right.
And no, that's not what you were doing. You were just, asking me. I didn't know it was from IMDb. I messaged the dude the screenshot, and thank God I did, because he's all like, "Bro, you're in the movie." I was like, "How the fuck am I in the movie? How come you didn't tell me?" He's like, "Bro, I try to get all my comedy friends in the movie." I was like, how am I in your documentary? He's like, dude, it's part of the podcast where you yell at Marcos. I'm like, why am I yelling at Marcos in the documentary?
Right.
He's like, bro, because it's epic and it's funny as fuck. And like, you're really yelling at him about busting your balls about not knowing the difference between a week and 3 weeks. I didn't know how long it was between the time that the pandemic happened and the next time I performed. It was actually like a week later, but it didn't matter.
Yeah. Okay, so basically what Victor, for the folks at home, is trying to say, he screwed up because he doesn't know his own resume. Okay, excellent, fantastic. We got a great show today, right?
You prick. That's not what happened at all. I didn't even know it was in the documentary. I didn't know that the podcast that I did was going to be using a documentary, and that I was going to be in it, and that I was actually going to be used in the documentary.
You should ask for some royalties on that shit.
I probably look like an asshole. I'm like immortalized forever, like we're like Unhealthy Comedian. Like, and there's like, it should be like, here's another Unhealthy Comedian.
Yeah. Okay, we got a great show for you tonight. Subscribe, rate, review if you like it. You've seen her on Comedy Central, Stand Up and Deliver, Comedy Doctors. The great Camilla Cleese is in the building. Hey, Camilla.
Yeah. Woo, 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 woo. Woo, 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 woo. Brick, what?
You're listening to Reza Riffs with Keith Reza and Alan Lee, right here on LA Talk Radio.
Camilla Cleese is in the Zoom.
Hello.
Hey, you.
Good to see your face, Keith. It's been a long time.
Yeah. How are you?
It's been a long time since I think I've seen anyone, considering the pandemic, but I feel like it's an extra long time.
Yeah. It's been a long time. Camilla, this is my trusty sidekick, Victor.
Hey, good to meet you, Camilla.
Hi, Victor. I didn't know you had a sidekick. Congratulations.
Yeah. Well, the sidekick is for, like, in case I tell a funny joke and you don't laugh, he'll laugh.
Oh, okay. Do you pay him?
No, not at all. But
I'm kidding.
But yeah. So hey, before we start, Lojo texted me and said she talked to you. Did she talk to you?
Who?
Lojo? Lori?
Lori.
Yeah.
Which Lori?
She was Norm's assistant.
Oh, she texted me. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, this was so sad because I remember you'd wanted to put my dad in touch with Norm at one point, and then he reached out by Twitter. I think he said he had a question for him or something. And when I told my dad who it was, he actually knew who he was and was like, "Oh, absolutely." He's like, give him my number, tell him to call me. But then Norm said he was like scared to call, and I was like, "What?" Which is so weird to me because I grew up idolizing Norm.
Yeah.
And then to have Norm like be nervous to call my dad, and I was like, "Well, do you want me to like conference you in, like, introduce you?" And I don't think they ever got to speak, which is unfortunate because my dad really wanted to talk to him. That was like 2 years ago, probably.
Yeah. Well, then the pandemic happened, so then we stopped. We didn't do the show, but like Norm wanted me to get him for him because, like, your dad, Norm, was his biggest fan. You know what I mean? So,
which is so crazy to me. Like,
yeah.
The people that like my dad, I'm like, I would have had so much more respect in high school had I known that like all these people were your fans,
Yeah. But yeah, I'm glad Lojo texted you because I figured you wouldn't mind because she had it anyway. She just, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah. No, absolutely. She said something about inviting him to something. Just unfortunately, he doesn't live here, so I don't know if that'll be viable.
Yeah.
I don't really know where he lives.
But no, hey, I'm interviewing you, so I think like Norm in heaven is thinking props to me. You know what I mean? Because you got some of your dad in you.
Close. I do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hopefully not so much as looks, but
no, you're way more prettier.
Thank you. I appreciate that. He's also a hideous woman, but he's a good-looking dude. Look, I've seen him in drag so many times at this point. Like, that was half my childhood, basically. Yeah. I thought that was normal. But fortunately, he found the one supermodel that would talk to him and married her briefly.
Yeah.
Hello. I mean, I think I do look like him from here up, but like, he doesn't have a mouth. So like, I do feel grateful that I got like a normal mouth with lips and stuff,
I was telling I was telling like, Victor the first time I met you, it was like 7 or 8 years ago, and I was running the comedy competition at Tap House, and I remember this is before I knew who your dad was. Like, I just thought you were a comic, and I thought you were very, very funny, and then you made the next round, and then you texted me and said that you can't make it because your mom died. And I remember I got you a card, you know what I mean?
Which was so sweet.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, that was like the sweetest thing. I think, most people just don't know how to handle it. And part of me was just doing what I normally do when something is sad, which is like avoiding it, making horrible jokes about it. But like, but that was so sweet of you. Like, I'll never forget that.
Yeah. And then I find out you're John Cleese's daughter, like the next day. I was like, oh, great. Now I feel like an idiot.
What, you should have put that in the card? Like, sorry, John Cleese's second wife died. Like, this is John Cleese the second.
I don't remember what I put in the card, but what I'm trying to
No,
say
it
is,
was, you just said something sweet, like, I'm so sorry for your loss, or, you know, something appropriate, but that would have been pretty funny.
I'll get you a new card.
Well, my dad always says one of his ex-wives died, but it was the wrong one.
Yeah.
Because they had like a very amicable divorce, and then everything went downhill from there.
So when did you decided you wanted to do comedy? Because there has to be a point where, you know, I'm trying to shy away from asking questions about your dad because I care more about you. But when did you just decide, hey, I want to do comedy, even though your family was in the comedy business in a form?
I always loved it, but I didn't want to go into it because of my dad, because I knew that would be a struggle. It's sort of hard to not bring him into the conversation because it's the family business. Like,
Yeah.
But I knew that would be tough because even before I was doing comedy or in the public eye at all, like I was getting trolled and stuff, like just cause. And I didn't like it. I didn't like the, you know, dealing with his fame. Was not that I'm famous now, but like, you know, that's something that unfortunately goes hand in hand with success in our business. And fame is really, there's a lot of really toxic sides to it. So I was very put off by that. And I used to ride horses professionally. I thought that would be my career. But by the time I was like, I took 3 years off after high school to ride. And then my dad was like, oh no, you're going to college. And I was like, oh, but I thought that was a joke. Like,
Right.
I went for 2.5 years. I changed majors every 5 minutes, like, because I couldn't find anything I wanted to study. And my dad got offered a show to do a one-man show in New Zealand, of all places. And he asked me to write it with him. And like, I think we both thought that meant like type and make coffee, you know, because he can't type or use a computer and he doesn't like to make his own coffee. So I figured that was going to be my job, but I wound up contributing more than either of us anticipated. And then I didn't really want to go back to university because I was like, I'm not learning anything. Like, this is pointless. You know, don't get me wrong. I think it's great, like, if you know what you want to do, but
Yeah.
I was just sort of like biding time and dicking around and drinking way too much at that point in my life.
So back to dicking around.
Yeah. I was a bad kid.
Oh, okay.
I just remembered I'll be 15 years sober. What's the date today?
Today is
Tomorrow.
the 16th of April.
Yeah, so tomorrow I'll have 15 years sober.
Whoa, congratulations.
Thank you. It's better for all of us, I assure you. I won't steal your car, but like it, I still make really bad decisions, which is weird. Like, you would think, I thought that I'd be like a much smarter, like more, I don't know. I thought I'd be like Mother Teresa when I got sober, and it just wasn't.
Yeah.
But anyway, I wound up writing my way into that tour. Like, I just wrote a part for myself, basically. I was like, you know, 6'1" blonde that looks vaguely like John Cleese, but not really. Like the casting. And then I wrote my best friend in, and I wrote the part for a hot guy yet to be cast. Like,
Yeah. You didn't know me back then, but if you did, I probably would have accepted.
Except for the fact that you had to be from New Zealand, but
Oh,
otherwise,
right.
100%.
Well, Victor's from New Zealand, Lena.
No, he's not.
Thanks for not writing me off.
Trust
like a hot guy.
Well, no, the funny part is, like, I think New Zealand might have the most unattractive population. Like, I think we found the one hot guy to come out of New Zealand. He actually became a big actor, which I'm stoked for him to
Heath
see him. But,
Ledger.
no,
Oh,
no,
I'm terrible at this game.
no. But I love that that's the one Aussie guy that no, his name
Hugh Jackman.
no,
Jesus Christ, Keith.
he's like my age. What's his name? Well, his real name, I actually came up with his stage name for him. I think it's Jay Ryan. He starred on like a couple of CW shows, and he's done very well for himself.
Oh, I know who it is.
Much better than me.
It's Russell Crowe. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Jesus Christ.
I said hot guy, not angry guy.
Well, you said this was 15 years ago. Russell Crowe was hot 15 years ago.
Oh, right. He was in
Gladiator.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was
I
hot
watched.
in Gladiator.
And then it just was over.
I know. What happened?
I don't know. That was rather unfortunate, isn't it?
You ever watch a movie like from 20 years ago, and like, for example, I used to have the biggest crush on Jennifer Love Hewitt, and I watch her movies and I'm thinking, oh my God, this girl is gorgeous. And then I see her movies today, I'm like, what happened?
We get older, Keith.
Yeah. But you ever think about that with Russell Crowe?
I mean, yeah, but I feel like with guys, there's kind of a double standard. Like George Clooney got like hotter as he got older.
I know.
I mean, there's a point, don't get me wrong, but like for women, it's just like I'm already like on the downswing or whatever it's called. Like I'm like over the hill for a Hollywood girl.
No, that's not true.
It is. I'm fine with it. Like I don't want to go like dress slutty and go to clubs anymore. So it's totally cool.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know why that would be necessary to be like, I don't know. I'm okay with getting older.
I mean, I still dress slutty and go to the clubs, and I'm not getting much action. So.
Which clubs?
Well, the ones in New Zealand.
There's a lot of sheep there, so if you're into sheep fucking, by all means, but otherwise I wouldn't recommend.
How did you know?
Who told you I was into that?
Lucky guess.
Yeah, Keith has sheep fucker written all over his face, especially when he has a beard. He looks like he fucks sheep with that beard. No, it looks like wool though.
He sings "Mary Had a Little Lamb"
Yeah.
to get him in the mood. Some people like Marvin Gaye, some like nursery rhymes. What can I say?
What's your jam of music? Like, what do you?
I love music, but I kind of, since doing stand-up, I try to force myself to listen to my sets while I'm driving, and that's like mostly when I would listen to music. But I still love all of my old 90s grunge music, like Stone Temple Pilots and Soundgarden and all that, Pearl Jam. Those are, sorry, I'm sitting in my bed because I think I told you, but my roommate, do you know Amos Gill? He's very funny comic. He opens for Jim Jeffries. He's pretty well known in Australia, but he's just over for a few months and he's been renting a room for me. We have the exact same laptop, and he got to Vegas and it's like, I have your laptop.
I thought you opened up for Jim before.
I haven't opened for Jim before.
Oh, but you're good friends because I've seen you guys together.
Yeah, he's a good buddy. He's another one that was a big fan of my dad's, which I didn't even really realize until he came. We were rewriting an Australian film in Arizona, like during the pandemic, and he came to help punch up, and he's going to be in it, I think.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, and I don't think he really, shouldn't say this on a podcast, but I don't think he really gets how science works, which I wouldn't really expect him to, but he was getting 3 COVID tests a day. He was so paranoid, but we're not leaving the house. I'm like, Jim, you're fine. But the last day he tested positive and was convinced that he'd killed my dad and kind of had a meltdown.
Oh my God.
I'm not going to lie. It was really kind of hilarious. But
Right.
apparently he has I think it's one of his new closers or something is that story about thinking that he killed my dad. Because it turned out that he'd gone and got tested at some place that was probably like a meth lab during like pre-pandemic, and then like business was slow, so they're like, let's set up a fake testing site in our trailer.
Yeah.
And like when I looked the place up, I was like, really, Jim? Like, this is where you go? They're like recycling the fucking Q-tips. Like, come on.
Now,
But
you're also you're from I know you're not born in Chicago, but we had this conversation a couple of weeks ago. You lived in Chicago for a while, right?
I did. I've lived a lot of places, but I was in Chicago for like and the surrounding area. We moved so many times, but like junior high, first 2 years of high school before I moved to California. That's where I moved to Southern Illinois from London. And then I think my parents just wanted to fuck with me. That's like culture shock. You wouldn't believe.
It's like Farmville.
Oh, it was like just one big cornfield. The population of the town was like 1,200. And I think like 900 had the same last name. It was like, one big happy family, creepy-ish. A lot of guns, and we like coming.
I was just there like
London.
2 weeks ago, and there was only like 500 people in the whole city.
Where?
Charleston, which is like 2 hours away from Chicago.
Charleston or St.
Champaign,
Charles?
Champaign.
Champaign or St. Charles?
No, it was Champaign. I
That's
flew
the
to
college
Charles.
town.
Yeah, but there's only like 500 people.
What?
Yeah.
There's no way in the college town.
Yeah.
Um,
because I sold only, like, not to brag or anything, but I sold 100 tickets to my show, and only 60 people came.
Well,
out of 500. That's pretty good. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, well, that's about how our ticket sales went. And oh my God, at least tell me your plane ticket didn't cost like almost $1,000. I don't know what was up with last weekend, but
yeah,
and I booked ahead of time and stuff too. But I think I wound up walking with like, I can't even say it out loud. I'll cry.
Yeah.
It's like you work. Especially because we had to do press 2 mornings in a row at like 6 a.m. and I never can fall asleep. So I was like on 2 hours of sleep and like.
But the good news is you made those. You know what I mean? Like the press. You made those press ones.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
only, I didn't know we were doing TV, so I was like, no makeup. No brushed hair, and we get to the TV station. They're like, "Yeah, you're going live in 3 minutes," and I'm like, "I can't fix this in 3 minutes." Like I barely slept. I got up at 5:45 to be ready to go at 7. I wanted to shower and like do my hair. I sat down or made myself a cup of coffee, sat down, and woke up at 6:45 with coffee all over me, and I was like, oh fuck. And I just changed and ran out the door.
Yeah.
So that's a Camilla move right there.
And then another Camilla move is throwing parties when you're to get when you're growing up, right? You threw a lot of parties. That's what you're telling me.
Oh yeah. Didn't I?
Yeah.
I think I used to have a bit about that, about my dad coming home early from a work trip and there's like 200 drunk teenagers in his house, and
oh my God.
I opened the door and he was pissed, and I was like, surprise, welcome home. I threw you a party.
Yeah. That's pretty
like,
smart thinking though.
Yeah. I mean, not like he believed me, but because he laughed, he like, in my family, like a good joke is currency. It's like, that'll get you out of any trouble if you can like joke your way out of it.
Same with my family. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I feel like it's been a problem in other relationships in my life because they're like, stop trying to make me laugh right now because it's like I'm mad at you, and I'm like, but And because if you can make them laugh, they'll forget why they're mad at you sometimes.
100% agree.
Yeah.
I do have a serious question, and I need to know the truth.
Yeah.
Okay. Have you ever dated Jeremy Piven?
Fuck no.
No. Okay.
No, we used to be good friends, and they ran an article. It was such bullshit. Like, actually, I met one of my best friends through him back then. She was his assistant back then, and now she's like this social media guru because she got into the game. This is probably like almost 20 years ago, 15, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And Jeremy and I were like good buddies, but like, you know, he hooked up with enough of my friends. Plus, he's like, not that it matters, but it kind of matters. He's like a foot shorter than me and like 20 years older than me. And I wasn't into it like that. But
Wait, how tall is he?
He's a short dude.
I literally never saw him without boots on. Like, I went up, we'd go hang out up at his house in Malibu. This is years ago. I don't know if he still has it. I mean, we reconnected once he started doing stand-up. That's a trip. But
yeah,
like, he would wear like boots with his like board shorts and stuff. So or not even board, I don't know. It just, I would say he's probably like 5'7", 5'8". I don't know.
yeah.
I mean, he's not like super, super short. He's not like he's not a Seacrest or a Tom Cruise, but
They got insoles that make you like 4 inches taller.
Yeah, it's
and
crazy.
I'm like, that's deceptive as fuck, and they'll probably hurt your heels. I think I don't know.
Yeah.
Do heels make you taller though? Heels, like even if they're like half an inch at the bottom, like do they make you taller? Like if
Camilla's pretty tall herself. So do you wear heels?
I'm 6'1". I do sometimes. I mean, not since I do stand up. Like my sense of style has gone like, because I mean, I feel like the worse I look, the better I do on stage. Like, it's just I don't want people to think about like what I'm wearing or what I look like. Like, tell me if this isn't true, Keith. You always can see if it's like a new girl comic if they're like super decked out to do stand up. Like, did Keith leave?
Yeah, no, I'm here. No, I agree. Yeah.
I think like whenever I see a girl in a dress with her hair done, I'm like, oh yeah, she's like in the first 6 months. Like,
right. Yeah.
And then I think, and I don't know if everyone has this outlook on it, but for me, I just know the worst sets I've had or when I've been dressed up and I've had to be dressed up for like corporate gigs, whatever. Not corporate, but like I did a couple of fundraisers and things like that, because if people are there on dates, it's not so much in LA, I wouldn't say, but like on the road, like most people go to comedy clubs on dates, right?
Right.
So like they don't want another girl taking their guy's attention, and you know how girls can be. So like you see all the arms crossed, so it's like it's better to just look like a homeless lesbian or something, you know.
I agree, but I also feel that like when I go to a comedy club and I see these ladies do comedy, I feel like I just want you to get to the jokes faster, not concentrate on that. You know what I mean? Right. I feel they do more concentration on what they're wearing than the jokes, you know?
I think some girls do for sure. I think they do way too much concentration on their vaginas and stuff like that personally, but I stay away from that. I try to just get into it, you know?
Yeah. Well, the reason why I asked that Jeremy Piven question is because when we were trying to get your father on Norm's show, this was like 4 or 5 years ago when I first started asking you about it. He was like, I was like, oh, I don't know, you know. I was like, because like at the time I had a huge crush on you, you know. And he's like, you should marry her. That way I could go to the wedding and be best friends with her dad.
Oh my God.
And I was like, well, I think she's dating Jeremy Piven. And he's like, no, he's dating John Cusack.
What? That's funny. Well, they used to be good friends, and then I think we're like rivals, or they became sort of,
They hate each other now. Yeah.
right. Yeah.
I'm a huge John Cusack fan. So like,
I am too.
yeah.
But Jeremy like is still a buddy of mine. We're not close anymore. It just got weird because they ran this article saying that we were dating, and they'd taken a photo. I went to see a play he did in New York with my dad, and Elizabeth Moss was in it too. And they'd cropped Elizabeth Moss and my dad out of the photo and just
They put you
taken the
guys.
two of us. And then there was an inset photo of us kissing, but like the girl was shorter than him, wrong hair color. I'm like, that's not me. Like, obviously,
Yeah.
like, there's no way. But then it was kind of awkward after that. And it's amazing that that's still like, if you Google my name, that will still come up.
Yeah. Do you feel like the Google is like a lot of people use it, I feel, to replace school because they say, oh, I don't need to go to school, I could just Google it. But also a lot of things you read on the Google isn't true. So do you think like that's like kind of fucks up this generation?
I just think that anyone that graduated high school pre-Google should get like an extra point added to their GPA. Because do you remember, you're probably not old enough to remember like the Dewey Decimal System and like the library catalogs?
Oh,
Victor,
no, but I remember AskJeeves.com.
Yeah, no. I'm talking like, this is like when the internet first, it wasn't even really around when I was in school. And so like we had to actually go to the library and find books, and they had this decimal point system. And you don't, how old are you?
The little decimal cards. The
the
index
Dewey
cards.
Decimal System. It drove me like,
I know what you're talking about.
Point on our GPA just for having to deal with that.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about. I just Googled it.
Yeah, fuck off, Keith. How old are you?
I'm a 35 years young.
You are? How do you not remember that?
No, I do remember. I'm just kidding.
You were fucking with me, okay? Because I'm not. Although
the point is Google is wrong, because whenever I Google myself, it says Keith Reza is retarded, and it's like, no, I'm just autistic. You know what I mean? So like,
you're actually brilliant. So you're like, well, if it makes you feel any better, I was looking for a picture of myself, like a press picture the other day, and I made the mistake of Googling myself. And if you're in the public eye, like it'll say your name and then it'll have like what you do underneath. And
like Victor doesn't know what this is, but you and I, we know.
We know because we've Googled ourselves. But like it says, so I then, after I read mine, I was like annoyed. So I typed in my sister's name and it says Cynthia Cleese, actress. Type in mine, Camilla Cleese, John Cleese's daughter. Mind you, Cynthia has been in 2 movies 20 years ago, and not like, she got married and had babies and was a phenomenal mother, but she doesn't act anymore. Whereas I'm like a working comic, and I'm like, can I ever like not be just that? Like I was like kind of livid, I'm not gonna lie, just because I've had that follow me forever. And like, yes, I'm proud of him, like I love him, but like I write more for him than, like it just feels really unfair at this point. I've worked too hard to just have that be my title. Like,
was your first writing credit when you did Mad About You?
I didn't do Mad About You.
I thought you wrote on Will and Grace or Mad About You or something.
Oh, I was an intern the last season because I got my dad's job on the show, and then I got myself an internship. But like, I made coffee occasionally and just sat in the writer's room. That's kind of when I got the bug to do comedy, because like I was like, wait a minute, they get to roll in here at like 10, 11 a.m., read tabloids for an hour, break for lunch. I was like, this is like my kind of job. Talk some shit to each other. And given, I know it's a lot harder than that. Like they had some of the most talented writers on that staff. It was so funny. But Yeah, actually, it's kind of funny how I got my dad because he was on the final. I think it was the final season. Uh, he played a love interest of Karen Megan Mullally, who I worship.
Right.
And so when I was riding horses competitively, like James Burrows, who directed all of Will and Grace and Cheers, he's epic, right?
Yeah.
His stepdaughter rode horses. She's a few years younger, and I sometimes would kind of watch her, which they shouldn't have allowed me to do at that age, but whatever. But I was friendly with him, and his wife Debbie was awesome. And I walked up to Jimmy and I was like, Jimmy, can you give my dad a job? I need a new horse. This is not work. Like, and I was fucking around, but like, he's like, actually, and at the time I was like, my dad, he just did vacuum cleaner infomercials and the company went bankrupt. Like, please, we're like, my riding career is going to end if you don't.
Yeah.
And he laughed, and then he was like, well, actually, it's funny you say that. We're looking for someone to play Minnie Driver's dad, and she's English. And I was like, well, there you go. And then the next thing you know, he was on Will and Grace, and then I got an internship. But it wasn't like, it was for the last half of the last season, basically. But that was kind of when I was like, this is a job I could probably actually like do.
Yeah.
Like where my bad attitude could be put to good use, you know?
Yeah. Now, Camilla, I want to respect your time because I know you said you had a show, but Victor has a couple questions he wants to ask you.
Sure. How you doing?
Is that one of them?
Yeah.
Good. I mean, not really.
No, I mean, I just didn't want to just hop into the questions and just like, seem like
My life is
robot.
insane, but I'm still breathing, so I'm good.
Oh, that's good. No, that's awesome. That's
Yeah.
really cool. Yeah. No, I take hallucinogens from time to time, so that keeps me going.
Yeah.
And I don't know. We all cope differently with life. But I have a question. And as the daughter of a living comedy legend, do you find yourself with a lot of pressure to perform at the level of a living legend?
I mean, like I know that I'm not going to, so it like you can't beat the amount of experience he has and stuff. I'm grateful he never did stand up, thank fucking God. But I definitely I think there is more judgment or expectation generally. Like if I only say that because when I've been introduced, like they used to haze me at the Comedy Store when I first started. They basically still haze me there for some reason. I'm like, come on, you guys, I've been around long enough at this point. Let's get over it. But they used to introduce me as just John Cleese's daughter and nothing else. And it's like you could feel the room turn from like, being in a good mood to like judgment. And I do think I get judged a little harder and stuff like that, but I try to just channel that energy or whatever to make myself better. Part of the reason I went into stand-up is to like establish myself as a separate entity, because I felt like when I was just doing sketch writing and acting, like if I had even the tiniest bit of success, it got attributed to my dad. But he's definitely made me work for it. So I don't think anyone could say like, look where my career is. Like if I was winning at nepotism, it would be a lot better than this. So
yeah. I kind of like know what that's like, even though like I don't have a famous dad. My uncle is famous, and like the thing is like people always
who's your uncle?
Patrick Warburton. And people always ask me like, hey, can you get him to do my podcast or whatever? And it's like, he doesn't even like me that much, you know what I mean? So like you're wasting
you wouldn't believe the amount of people that like, and for friends it's one thing, I'll consider it like depending on what it is. Like sometimes like I kind of admire the delusional confidence like that people will even ask. Like sometimes I probably get an average of like,
Sorry.
I would say 10 to 15 messages a week through social media, trying to get to my dad to get him to do something. And when I say to get him to do things, I'm talking about, because first of all, like, what sort of professional approaches someone's daughter through Facebook to try and get the actor? Like,
Yeah.
but they'll be like, hey,
Oh,
do you think your dad would like star in my web series? And I want to be like, what's your budget? Like, are you going to fly him in from the UK and put him up at the Four Seasons and pay him? Or, oh, do you think it's so good that he's going to fly himself over just to be a part of it? Like, you know, I feel like it's, but part of me admires those people because I can't even like reach out to someone like cold call, or like if I'm looking for representation, I'd be terrified to like just email an agent because I'm scared of being that person that's out of line. But like some of the requests and then some of them get mad when I'm like, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You'll have to contact his agent. Like, this is also, it's not my fucking job. Like, if I got back to all those people, I wouldn't have time left in the day.
To do Reza riffs.
Yeah. Well, or anything. I mean, I already do so much work for him, like that it's gotten to the point where we're like negotiating terms right now. I'm like, you've got to get a better assistant because I've somehow morphed into this like, I'm like an unpaid intern basically.
Well, I know that feeling too, because like when I was with Norm, like I was with Norm for 8 years, you know, and like he was my best friend, and it wasn't, oh, I'm friends with a celebrity. Like I didn't even think he was one. He was just a friend.
Right.
You know what I mean? So like when people ask me if he would do the podcast and their podcast and stuff, I was like, you know, don't put me in that position to ask him for you because it doesn't
even
benefit.
Asking my dad, I get like a knot in my stomach if I have like, I'll do it for some of my friends, but I hate asking him to do stuff like that because unless you're my really good friend or I think it's gonna like be beneficial for him somehow, like I'm getting so many requests, he's getting so many requests, his agents, like he's 82 years old, like, and I can't, like, I don't even ask him for favors like, hey, will you be in my web series? Like, you know, it's like, I don't really want to ask him to do
it's an awkward feeling.
Yeah, it's really uncomfortable for me. And he's my dad and we're super close, but it's like, I just know how hard he works. And the last thing he really wants to do at the end of the day is like an extra whatever, you know.
Yeah. Because Victor gets all these requests people to have him ask me stuff. And I was like, you know, I'll say yes because you're my boy. And he's like, yeah, I don't want to because it's just awkward. I was like, fair enough. Victor, you got any last second questions for the great Camilla?
Yeah, I do. So I've been doing stand-up for 9 years.
9 years.
The last two didn't really count.
Right.
But
so 7 years.
So 7 years, but whatever, it's 9. I'll eat those 2 years of fat. I'll eat that shit. But I was in the Bay the majority of the time. And so like, you know, like we would do like a sign-ups, odds only, and then women would get evens. And so we'd like try, like, you know, to encourage women to do stand-up so they wouldn't be discouraged if they got there late. You know, so it wouldn't be a whole sausage fest. So like any rate, so there was like that.
I wish they had that here. But I also kind of don't like, it seems like kind of unfair because there's just not that many women and I tend to run late. So like,
yeah, so this would like, it fits the bill for everybody, but I mean, there's less women per capita. There's like 1 billion dudes and there's like 10,000 women. And
especially once you get to like year 3, you know, like there's a lot more girls at like the open mics in their first 6 months than there are like 3 years in still doing it, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's a steep drop off. Because I'd say it's what, like 90 to 95% men, I would guess.
Yeah, it's up there because somebody's all like, yeah, it's 80-20. I'm like, are you on crack? No, it's not. It's
That are
you
like
fuck no.
working comics? Fuck no.
No, fuck no. No, 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 no. I no, at any rate, no, I know what's up. No, that wasn't my question. No, I was just setting it up just so you know where I'm coming from with this
Yeah.
question. Because like I'm like always about encouraging females, and I hate calling them female comedians. They're just comedians
Yeah.
If
who
this
happen to
was
be
a
women.
Twitter question, you're out of characters.
All right, I know, but at any rate, what are some things that female comedians are subjected to that you wish all male comics knew?
Hmm. I mean, there's definitely still the stigma women aren't funny. And like, I don't think that's true. I think that if you took the percentage of women that are funny within the women that do it and the percentage within the men that do it, it would probably be roughly the same. But
Yeah.
there's just a hell of a lot less women, period. So like there's gonna be less funny women. I kind of, to be honest, I hate when it's like an all-female showcase because I know that there's not going to be 15 girls that are that strong of comics like available on the same night to do the same show. Like it's just statistically unlikely. So I usually go up and it pisses everyone off, but I don't give a fuck.
No, is the
I'll go
bet?
like, I'm like, thanks for coming to the Special Olympics of comedy.
No, no.
Like,
That's
but I want to be booked because I'm funny, and I've always like, I don't know, there is more like sort of, there's some chauvinism, misogyny, sexual harassment. I'm so like desensitized to it. It takes a lot. I mean, the first mic I
horrible,
did at the Comedy Store, the host after my set said something like, well, that was kind of funny for a girl. And I did okay. I was brand new.
Jesus Christ.
No, it gets way worse. He goes, but who cares? By round of applause, how many people would fuck that girl? And like, I guess I'm glad people clapped. It could have been worse. I was so angry. I remember walking away and I almost turned and yelled something back, but it was an employee of the Comedy Store. And I knew that if I complained about that I would just get blacklisted. And unfortunately, so I've never dated comics, like, and that in some ways, guys,
good.
There's a lot of guys that take girls on the road because they think they're getting laid. And like, I think because I've never dated comics, they don't see me as like, oh, that girl that will, because I don't want to fuck my way to the middle. I want to get booked because I'm funny. Like, that's just how I've always been. I think the whole like posting sort of like naked selfies on Instagram, and then you get a big following and suddenly you're headlining, and I'm like,
yeah,
I can't bring myself to do that shit. Like, a lot of the girls that I came up with are way ahead of me and get more stage time and more shows because they do that. But I'm like,
oh God.
I mean, I don't even bring this up normally, but like I used to model underwear, but I am not posting those pictures because that's not what I want to be known for. I want to be known for being funny, So
yeah,
that's
I
admirable.
I 100% agree. Yeah,
because some of the girls, they then perpetuate that stigma that women aren't funny because they're getting booked to headline way before they should be. Like way. And then when they
their 45 is gonna suck. Sorry, yeah, it's gonna suck.
Yeah, sorry. Like if you can't do 10 minutes, how are you gonna do 45? I would rather undersell myself and like I know I'm a strong feature, but I don't consider myself a headliner. And like I would rather go crush it, 30 or 20, whatever this feature length
sweet spot. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I'm just not quite there yet. I'll headline like a one-off at a casino in the middle of nowhere because no one will ever hear about it if I suck. But like I'm not gonna do a comedy club weekend headlining,
Well, my last question for you, because I know you got a show, but before I ask this, just for the record, I'm not a comedian, I'm an actor.
What?
Okay, bad joke.
I'm laughing at how awkward that was. Not that joke, for the record.
Well,
No,
no,
because here's the joke. Because you said I don't date comics, and then I said, "Oh, I'm not a comedian. I'm an actor."
Oh,
Okay, I get it.
That
Bad
actually was
joke.
funny, it
You
was.
just said-
I'd gone on a rant for too long before.
I should have
You-
interrupted
You
it.
don't want to date me. My boyfriend's in jail right now, and actually, you met him. I think the first time I hung out with him. I think he came to a show in what was it, Huntington
Huntington Beach? No,
The Rec Room or whatever.
no, the Rec Room. Yeah, I had one thing about you that I will say is
I have terrible taste. Yeah, I know.
no. Back to what you were saying is I've always, and keep in mind this is before I knew you had a famous dad. I always gave you stage time because I always thought you were funny, and I always try and get you in where I go. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, and I always appreciated that. Did you stop giving me stage time because I didn't fuck you, or
No. I just don't get a lot of.
I was fucking with you?
No, what? I made you a regular at the Rec Room. You could go whenever you want.
I've never bitten. I mean, I haven't been back.
Well, come whenever you want. Come
You
Saturday.
book it?
Yeah, come Saturday. I'll be there if you're not busy.
It is Saturday.
No, I mean,
Next
a week from
Saturday.
today.
Yeah, you
Oh.
got flappers tonight.
Yeah, I got flappers tonight. You're right. Actually, I should get going because I realized I thought the shows were 8 and 10. Who made them 7:30 and 9:30?
Oh,
I'm gonna.
Okay, so you gotta go. Where can the folks at home follow you to support you?
I am at Camilla Cleese, like the bottom of the screen on everything because I'm the only Camilla Cleese. Blessing and a curse because my past has followed me everywhere. But let's do it again sometime. You guys are awesome. It's so
For
much fun.
sure. I love you, Camilla. Have a great show.
Love you too, Keith. Good
All
to
right.
see you, and I hope to see you in person soon.
All right. Bye.
Bye, guys.
All right. Excellent. That was Camilla Cleese. Subscribe and rate, review to the show. And I wish I could release the Zoom video because for the folks at home, she gave me a kiss. All right, Victor. Oh, she's still here. All right.
I can't figure out how to quit because I'm not on my computer. How do I do this?
Oh, okay.
There we go. Bye.
Bye.
Well,
All right. All right. So, Victor, we'll see you. We'll see you next week on Reza Riffs.
You're listening to Reza Riffs with Keith Reza and Alan Lee, right here on LA Talk Radio.